Hey there, welcome to the Happy Teaching Podcast. As we're gearing up for this summer's rounds of the P.L.A.Y course, or Playful Learning All Year, if you're not familiar with it, we are sharing some episodes with tips, tricks, techniques, things that can really help you feel more confident for next school year, build independence with your students, and build a more developmentally appropriate classroom. So if you haven't listened to our past 5 to 10 episodes, look back, look at those topic lists and see if anything catches your eye. You're going to get some great sneak peeks into the P.L.A.Y course and how it can really help you. And you're going to get some great value from those short episodes as well. So we'll put information about the course in the show notes for you so that you can get yourself registered in time before we kick off. But today we're going to talk about parent communication and how to simplify it. Now, first I want you to think, when I say parent communication, does like excitement come to your mind, like confidence or, neutral, or is it like kind of dread, like, oh, parents? And I don't mean that negatively, because we know that parent relationships in our classrooms are so important, because what we do is it's teamwork. It involves families and teachers, and we want amazing relationships with the parents of our students. But we also know that doesn't always happen. It can be very difficult, and we're all going to have different experiences with it depending on our school environment, our community environment, depending on which students we have this year, right? Every year is going to feel a little different. And sometimes it can be a little bit stressful when we're thinking about how to make sure that we're developing a strong relationship with families, solving problems well with families, and really inviting them to be on board. So there's a lot of layers here. So today we're just going to kind of start at the top, at the surface, and we're just going to talk about how are we communicating with parents at the basic level because if we're going to build relationship with parents, we have to actually start this communication, right? And invite them in. And how do we do that? And why is it beneficial? Okay, I'm going to dive into that a little bit too. But we know communicating with parents is really important. When we communicate effectively and clearly and often here's the key, without adding tons more to our plate, because goodness knows we already have too much that we're being asked to do. So we can't be piling on a whole second, third job of parent communication, but we do know it's important to keep them in the loop. Clear and consistent communication helps if any issues arise. When we have communication often, and clear communication on normal, everyday, good days in the classroom, it helps then when there's a tough day or an incident, the parent isn't like, what? This is out of left field. I hardly know you. I don't even know what the class is doing. And now there's this problem. And that can cause some tension and issues, right? It can help lessen that when we have consistent, clear communication on a regular basis for everyday things, okay? That's the biggest reason I recommend consistent and clear communication. So, number one, this might seem obvious, but I still want to go through it. Use a newsletter to keep parents informed of what students are learning and upcoming events. Now, I'm smiling if you're watching this on video, and you might be like smiling to yourself as I say this, because it's true, and maybe you've done this as a parent too. I'm not putting them down, but sometimes it feels like we say 15 times, and we staple notes to their backpacks, and still there are things like, I didn't know there was a field trip. And we're like, we've said it. Okay. Yes, totally. So a newsletter is not going to solve everything, but it's going to help. And you want this to be really simple. I like to print them and send them digitally. They don't need to be too much, but it needs to have information like, here's the main bullet points of what we're doing. Here are important dates. Yes, it might get lost. People might not read it, but it's that basic level. Can you post it online if you have like a message board? Can you post it in your room on the actual door as parents come in? Can you send it? I like monthly ones because I feel like it's a lot of work to do weekly ones. However, I have been at a school before where they required weekly ones, and it felt like more, but maybe the parents were a little more aware of dates and got more reminders that way. So think about what works for you monthly versus weekly. Okay, so newsletter at the most basic level. It does not need to be fancy or super cute or any of that. If you're in the Print and Play Club, we have templates and things for you. Go use them. And remember, you don't need to have it perfect. You don't need to make it fancy, just information, okay? Next up, if you have a classroom app, which you probably do in this day and age, we have so many technological things we can use, right? So much tech. Maybe you're using things like Seesaw or all the other, I'm not going to run down the whole list because I'm probably going to miss some, but different apps that you're using to communicate with parents, assign things out, send messages, whatever it is. Now, something that I like to do, and remember, this is like so long as it's like, a private app communication, things like that, I would try to share one picture of each student with their family each week. Not to the whole class. I'm not posting it to some public board, right? We're keeping student privacy and things in mind here. But I would try to share one picture each week. That was manageable for me. Now, if you're someone that's very organized, you probably would have a list of your kids and you would just check off when you sent one. I tried to do that and sometimes would forget. And so I just did my best. I would just look in my app and check the student names. Like, did they get a picture? When was the last picture I sent them? And it seems like it's just an easy way for parents to see their child learning, see them in action. I didn't even put context with it sometimes. I wasn't typing out a whole paragraph like, oh, little Joey was playing with the blocks today and blah. No, and I even told them that. Like, I'm going to try to send you pictures when I can get them just to invite you in and sneak peek in their day. If you have questions about it, show your child and ask your child. That's always a fun conversation starter. Like, hey, your teacher sent me this picture. What were you doing? Can you tell me about it? Okay, it's a fun way for them to communicate with each other, to feel brought in. You don't need to make it hard. Fling a picture, send the picture, okay? And that's better than, in my opinion, I use the term better just because it feels like it's a good builder of relationships when they're seeing not just like reminders, and then, oh, there was an incident today. I need to meet with you because something happened, right? That's appropriate. Of course, if there are incidents, we're communicating about them clearly, but it can be very helpful, especially with families where you're like, oh, I'm going to be messaging them quite a bit for some in-person meetings. It can be very helpful if they're seeing like reminder, positive photo, cool picture of their day. Oh, there was a problem. We might need to meet. Okay. Photo, positive message, right? We're building up so that when there are things that happen, it's not just out of left field and negative. Okay. Sending those pictures, I promise you, it does not take long at all, and it can be very important to them and very valuable to the families. Of course, make sure it's private. Make sure you have permission. We're not posting pictures. You know all of that. I shouldn't have to say it, but I'm going to just in case. Okay. All right, so now next up, I want you to think when it comes to communication, if there is like an individual issue, and there's probably going to be, I want you to think about if your message can be handled by email or if a phone call is in order. Okay, think about, is this something I can type out? Will my tone be understood? Or is this something where I can call the family? Now, something that I liked to do often was if I had to call a family and if I knew like, oh, I need to talk to them about this, I sometimes would try to schedule that phone call with them or give them a heads up via email. You don't want to scare someone. You don't want to be like, can we get a phone call with no context? Because then they're going to be stressed about it. But also, if you're just calling a parent during your hours, sometimes they're at work or something and they're like, what's going on? And then it's more stressful. So sometimes I would send an email with a little bit of context, maybe say like, this is going to be something that's much easier to talk about on a phone call. Is there a time that we could set? Okay. And just think through how you prefer that. But I often find a phone call or in person can be more helpful than a back and forth email, which takes almost more time. Okay. But again, I know we don't have a lot of time either, especially for planning time and things like that. But think about, email or phone call when it comes to those communication things. And then another tip here is about our personal boundaries, because speaking of phone calls, meetings, emails, we also have class to teach, right? We've got things to plan, things to do. And when I first started teaching, I would fall into this trap of like, I would check my school email often. And if I got an email at 8:00 at night, I was like, oh, I need to answer it. I don't. And the person probably didn't expect me to answer it. But what happens is when you start answering it, when you start answering your message boards or your chats or your things or whatever way that you're communicating, we know there are tons of options, right? Whatever method of communication you're using, if you start answering it at any given time, people kind of get trained to expect that. So what you can do is you can put your office hours in your newsletter. You can put it in your messages that you send out at the end of your email signature or anything like that, where they know I respond to emails during these hours. These are the hours that I'm available for communicating. And it's not bad. It's not rude. It's respectful of everyone's time. And along with this is keep your personal information personal. I feel like in this day and age, I sound like an old person when every time I say that. I'm like, I feel like I'm just getting older and in my day. But anyway, in this day and age, especially with all of the many tools we have at our disposal, they can be so amazing, but also a little scary. We don't want to be giving out our personal information. We're not doing any of that online, things like that. Keep your personal information personal so there is that little bit of boundary. They don't need your home email. They don't need your Facebook. They don't need your cell phone number, all of that, okay? Keeping that boundary is a good thing. All right, and finally, we talk more about this in the P.L.A.Y course, so I won't go too much into it here, but let parents in your classroom, and I don't mean just in there to hang out. We're going to talk, we have a whole section on like, okay, how do we have classroom volunteers? When do we start that? What can they do? But parents that want to be involved can be a great asset. And maybe parents don't know yet how to be involved or how they want to be. Maybe they're like, I don't know if I want to be, but inviting them in can really help with that relationship. And I don't say build this relationship to put more work on our plate. I say it because especially if you struggle with any specific classroom management issues with specific students or behavior issues, the parent relationship is going to play a big role in this with how much of an impact it has on you and how much support you can get and all of that. So it really does matter. And I could go on, but I'm going to save a lot of it for the P.L.A.Y course because we want to keep these episodes short for you. But I hope something in here stood out to you. I really want your year to feel less stressful. I want you to feel more confident. I want it to go as smoothly as possible. All right, I hope to see you in the P.L.A.Y course. Until then, and as always, happy teaching.